Another feature of the Complete 1003 education software is that we train your new MLOs to originate loans the way they will in the real world, so that they become confident in their abilities and can go out and bring revenue in fast. In the real world, a loan officer asks a question of a borrower and then compares it to a guideline, and then has to consider if the guideline is unclear or incomplete, and underwriter discretion could come into play. And we show your new loan officer how to think in that way as they work through the education software. So in question 81A, if there are other properties that are going to be kept by the borrower after the closing, we need to know who owns the property, the address, how much gross income on the prior tax year and the year before that. And then we need to know the amount of depreciation they claimed on the prior two tax returns to figure net income. But even if you're using source data so that you get a calculation made for you, they still need to be inquiring, are all the tenants on a 12-month lease, and do they intend to fill any current vacancies with tenants signing a 12-month lease? And can they verify the rental income since the period covered by the last tax return with copies of tenant checks or with segregated deposits? And then after the data is gathered, then there is some discretionary areas to be careful of. For example, if your borrower owns multiple properties on the same street or within the same immediate area, make sure your guidelines will allow this. And to be careful of using rental income from co-op units, even if the borrower has been receiving it. Many co-ops prohibit rentals, and your underwriter may not use this income without a letter from the board authorizing it. It's also a good place to warn a loan officer to be carefully look at the properties the borrower will retain at closing. Even in non-community property states, underwriters may hit your borrower for PITI payments for any properties they own jointly with another party, typically a spouse, even if they're not obligated on the associated note. Most underwriters will include the payments for taxes, insurance, and HOA dues in this scenario, although some will also include principal and interest payments, especially if the party obligated on the note makes payments from a joint checking account or shows the property on a jointly filed tax return. And then your applicant may or may not be able to get credit for any rental income generated by this property.